I'm going to share with you today how to create this marbled background, which I then cut out with a die cut circle and mounted to the front of my card. So what you're going to need is some plain white card, some adhesive sheet and some vellum. I'm going to show you how we create the marbling on vellum, and I'm using the card to give it a bit of rigidity at the back. You don't have to use that option if you don't wish, but I'll show you that and how it works. You need to use isopropyl alcohol, that is 99.9%, not the 70% alcohol that you can buy. This needs to be the high concentration of 95% and over. I bought this from Amazon. You also need alcohol markers. I am a Stampin' Up demonstrator, so I am using the Stampin' Blends markers, and I've chosen tones of green, differing tones, and so I've chosen the dark evening evergreen, dark old olive, dark just jade, and dark so succulent, soft succulent. I have a spritzer which has the isopropyl alcohol already inside. I've got a little pipette here. Anything, you could use a paintbrush, anything just to drop puddles of the alcohol onto your project is all you need. And these are the samples, just for an example to show you the effect that I'm going for. So I'll move those out of the way for a second. So what we're going to do first of all is we are going to add our adhesive sheet to our white card and not peel the backing off just yet. So it's actually, the adhesive is on this part of the pull off piece of paper. So I'm just going to lay that down ready for the next step. So just pop those off and try and put them together and as close together as possible to get a nice good coverage on the back of the adhesive. Lovely. And then finally the last piece. I'll lay that down. So I pre-cut these and I cut it slightly smaller than a piece of card so that I wouldn't have an overlap. When you have an overlap, you can get sticky edges and it gets on your fingers and just leaves a sticky residue. This is now my vellum piece. It's an A5 size, and the reason for that is if you colour the whole piece and get the marbling on the whole piece of vellum, you actually can cut 3 of the circles out of the vellum. So you could end up making 3 backgrounds for 3 different cards. So all I did was I laid the ink down on the vellum. I went as close to the edges as possible, and I'm using the brush tip, the thick line, and I'm just randomly adding colour to my vellum. Remember, go close to the edges, don't go too, too contained. Try and go as close as you can, but when you put the alcohol liquid down, the colour on the vellum will move, and so it probably will reach the edges anyway. We're going to use a heat tool to move and dry the ink, which will also move things around and spread them, and you'll see that in a moment. So I'm just adding, you can do it in swirls, in circles, but honestly, just get the ink down, because when you add the alcohol, depending on how much of the isopropyl alcohol you add, will depend on how much the ink colour moves. So honestly, every time you do this, it will be different. You'll love some more than others. You'll try and recreate your favourites. It's such a nice surprise because you don't really know what you're going to get. So adding in, this is quite dark, this one, so I don't want to add too much of that and overwhelm everything. But as you can see, I've covered my piece of vellum and I've used all the colours there. I could use less if I wanted to. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to spritz the alcohol onto my project. Be quite liberal, because you will see that it is already bubbling and pooling. the isopropyl alcohol evaporates really quickly. You wouldn't want to be in a small room with this. It's really strong. And so, you know, you might want to open a window or something like that, just to show you the different effect you can also get by using the pipette. So you just literally take a few drops and I can add them wherever I felt that the ink hadn't moved enough. So the beauty of this technique is you're now going to use your heat tool to dry the isopropyl alcohol and set the colour. The ink will move, and when it's dry and finished, if you want to add more colour, you can. So as you can see, the colour of the ink dulls slightly. We've got a lot of movement and marbling going on here, but not so much here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to splodge some more of the isopropyl alcohol on my project, just to show you that you can go back in and add more if you wish. Try to have the paper flat, or you will find that the isopropyl sort of pools in areas. You might like that effect. And don't be shy of using really lovely bright colours, because that also looks very, very pretty too. So I'm just going to use the heat tool again. Now, I'm really liking that technique. We've got lots of marbling and movement in the ink. Be mindful, protect your surface. I didn't want you to have to look at a piece of grid paper, so I didn't protect mine, but I don't mind. This is just a rough board. So now what we're going to do is we're going to stick this to our piece of card. Actually, as you tilt it, you can still see there are wet patches. Just try not to get any on your hands. Remember that these markers are permanent. They are alcohol markers, so once they are dried, they are permanent. So the reason I'm adding the card base is, first of all, it makes sticking the vellum down so much easier. So you can see on my card here, the vellum is stuck all the way down. It's really hard to stick vellum without seeing adhesive. So I found that using the adhesive sheets worked an absolute treat. So I lay that down, then I will die cut. So let me just do that part for you now. So peel off the backing of the adhesive sheet. Ready for my vellum. And I have cut it to be the same size. So as long as I get my edge piece correct, we should be good to go. You can stick the vellum down whichever way you wish. What you'll find is one side is slightly brighter and bolder than the other. So if you have gone a bit bold and you want to dull your colour down, you can stick it ink side down if you wish, and you'll get a more muted effect on the other side. So that's my finished piece, and all that's left now is for me to cut the circles to add to my card fronts. I can then heat emboss, add embellishments, and get my cards finished. So yeah, I hope you'll give it a try. It's such a cool technique and a great way of adding some real texture and dimension in the background to really make your cards stand out. Thanks for watching.